Okay, we were talking about moments in time that changed your musical life. And of course, we already talked about February 1964, which was the beginning of my journey. So let's talk about the second life changing thing for me that occurred. I was in sixth grade in 1964 when I started playing guitar, taking lessons. Made it through the first three Mel Bay books. When I was in eighth grade, my parents got me my first electric guitar. It was a K of some sort with a little amplifier. Came out of the Spiegel's catalog. And it was nice. I was excited for a while, but the guitar was hard to play. And I think my father sensed that I was losing interest. So one day I come home from school and my dad's there and he has a friend from work, a young guy in his 20s. His name was Vince. Can't remember his last name. Good guy. He had a white Fender Mustang and a Princeton Reverb amplifier. I mean, his rig sounded great. And he could play every song the Ventures ever recorded perfectly. Walk Don't Run, Telstar, Pipeline. He had them all down. And he showed me the rhythm parts, the chords. So I would play the chords and he would play the lead. And man, we were making music. I mean, that's where the fun is, playing with somebody else. That rekindled my interest. Anyway, I asked him, what book did you use, to learn these Venture songs? Does Mel Bay have something out? And he just kind of laughed at me and said, you don't need a book. You just put the record on, listen to it, and figure out what they're playing. And that truly was a revelation to me. The idea that music didn't come out of a book, could come from somewhere else, was new to me. So that was a life-changing moment right there. So from that day on, I was, over the record player, putting the needle down on the track and then listening to it and then picking it up and putting it back and listening again and trying to figure out what they're playing. And eventually I learned how to play all those Venture songs as well. But the K guitar was hard to play. So one day I come home from school, and there, sitting in the living room, is a Princeton Reverb amplifier and that gray case that had a Fender Mustang in it. I recognized it right away as Vince's equipment. And I asked my mother, is Vince coming over? And she explained to me that no, those are now my instruments. She told me, Vince had decided, him and his girlfriend, they were going to get married. And, they needed to get their car fixed and, they wanted to buy a house. And, when you get married, you have a lot of responsibility and you don't have time for, things like playing guitar and so forth. You have to become an adult. I get this whole lecture from my mother. But anyway, the guitar was mine and the amp. So when my father comes home, I went to thank him, for these instruments. And my dad just kind of smiled and said, yeah, Vince knocked up his girlfriend. So anyway, that's how I got my first real instrument. And man, what a dream that was. Playing that Fender Mustang and that Princeton Reverb, that was worlds better than what I had before. And that's really when I started learning to play, decently. And probably less than a year after that, I was using that rig and getting paid for gigs. So that was my second musical life-changing moment. That's all.